Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're tackling a problem I know so many of you have faced. It's the magnificent bird of paradise, a plant that promises so much, but delivers, well, mostly just a whole lot of leaves.
So, you've got this absolutely stunning architectural plant, right? It's lush, it's green, it's pushing out new leaves like a champion, but that one thing you bought it for, those incredible bird-like flowers, they're nowhere to be found. If you're standing there thinking, what am I doing wrong? Trust me, you are not alone. Let's get to the bottom of why your plant is stuck in this leafy limbo.
So here's how we're going to break this all down. We're going to start with the plant's basic promise, then dive into the biggest issues like light and, its internal clock. We'll fine-tune the climate, and then the grand finale, a concrete 5-step plan to actually get those flowers.
Okay, first things first, let's just get one thing straight. This probably isn't your fault. Seriously. The real issue here is a fundamental mismatch between your cozy living room and this plant's native home in South Africa. We're basically fighting against millions of years of evolution.
And this right here, this is the key to the entire puzzle. You see those gorgeous, thick, waxy leaves? They are not just for looks. They're biological armor, literally designed to handle the blazing, non-stop sun of its homeland. But indoors, that same armor actually works against it, making it incredibly hard for the plant to soak up enough energy to do anything more than just exist.
And that brings us directly to the number one culprit, the single biggest reason for a flowerless bird of paradise, a massive, and I mean massive, energy shortfall that you probably can't even see.
Our eyes are amazing. They can adapt and see perfectly fine in all sorts of light. But that amazing ability, it totally tricks us when it comes to our plants. We'll walk into a room and think, oh yeah, this is nice and bright. But for a sun-worshipping plant like this one, it's basically like living in a dimly lit cave.
And this chart just lays it all out perfectly. Look at these numbers. To just survive, not even thrive, but survive, it needs about 100 to 250 foot candles of light. To push out new leaves, a bit more. But to bloom, wow. The energy requirement makes this insane jump to over 600, and really you want to be over 1,000. It is a completely different ballgame.
So here's the bottom line. Without consistently hitting that super high energy threshold, your plant's energy budget only has enough for the basics, staying alive and making leaves. Flowers are an absolute luxury item, and they are the very first thing that gets cut when the energy budget is tight.
But, okay, let's say you've got the light totally dialed in. You've got it in a south-facing window, you've even got a grow light, but still nothing? Well, the next place to investigate isn't the environment. It's the plant itself. We're talking its age and its living situation.
Just like us, plants have a juvenile phase. And if you bought a small plant that was grown from a seed, which a lot of them are, it is physically incapable of flowering for at least 5, sometimes even up to 10 years. It literally just hasn't hit puberty yet. Now, plants grown from a division of a mature parent, they can get blooming way, way faster.
Now this is where it gets really weird, because the bird of paradise basically throws all the typical houseplant rules out the window. For almost any other plant, we think bigger pot, more room, more growth. But for this guy, a bigger pot just means more leaves. It actually needs its roots to be crowded, a little stressed out, to get the signal that, hey, maybe it's time to reproduce.
And this is such a critical warning. So listen up. If you have a mature plant and you decide to be nice and give it a big new pot, you might have just accidentally hit the reset button on its flowering clock for up to 3 years. No joke. The plant is going to switch all its energy back into filling that new space with roots. So my advice, unless that pot is literally cracking apart, just leave it alone.
Okay, so we've covered light, we've covered age and root space. Now we get to fine-tune the atmosphere. Think of these as the final triggers that can either push a plant that's ready to bloom over the finish line or hold it back forever.
So there are 3 really subtle but super powerful factors we got to look at. First, low humidity can physically trap the flower and stop it from coming out. Second, if the temperature never changes, the plant's internal calendar gets all confused. And third, well, there's a sneaky chemical threat that might be lurking right in your kitchen. This thing is called thermal vernalization, which sounds complicated, but it's not. Back in South Africa, this plant goes through a cooler, drier winter. That temperature drop is a vital signal. It's nature's way of telling the plant, okay, winter's over, spring is on its way, it's time to make flowers. But a house that stays a perfect 72 degrees all year round, it denies the plant that trigger, leaving it perpetually confused about what season it is.
And now, for that hidden threat, would you believe me if I told you it could be your fruit bowl? It's true. Ripening fruit, especially things like apples and bananas, they release something called ethylene gas.
And to a developing flower bud, ethylene gas is a hormonal signal to basically self-destruct. It's a phenomenon called bud blast. So if you are lucky enough to finally see a flower spike starting to form, you have got to get it far, far away from your kitchen counter.
All right, we have diagnosed every single potential problem from light to fruit bowls. Now, let's put it all together. This is the complete, actionable solution. This is the protocol that's going to turn all this theory into actual flowers.
Here it is, the whole shebang. Step 1, you're going to absolutely max out the light energy. 2, practice some tough love. Neglect those roots and let it get pot-bound. 3, feed it like you mean it during the growing season, especially with a bloom-boosting fertilizer. 4, give it that cool winter nap it's craving to reset its internal clock. And finally, 5, keep the air humid and, for the love of all that is holy, keep it away from ethylene gas. You follow these 5 steps and you are systematically knocking down every single barrier we've talked about today.
So you see, the solution isn't just one magic trick. It's about a whole shift in how we care for this plant. It's about stopping to treat it like just another generic houseplant and starting to replicate the specific, high-energy, and seasonally changing world it came from. And if you can do that, you can finally unlock that spectacular, incredible flower you've been waiting for.